Hi everyone and welcome. This is Linda at Icky Chic Designs. Today we're going to talk about another project that we can do with these scraps that we seem to have by the bagfuls or by the drawerfuls. I have them both ways. Here's a bag of scraps. As you can see, there's just tons and tons and tons of them. I also have two drawers right beside my sewing machine that is full of just exactly these kind of scraps. And that's what I use when I'm making my fabric trim. Fabric trim like this. I love this trim because it's so versatile. I use it in sewing, I use it in mending clothes and patches, I use it in junk journal embellishments, I use it in slow stitch projects. There's just all kinds of applications for it. Here's another piece that I'm doing in these colors, these purples and greens. Isn't those pretty? Sometimes I will make them in a color scheme, especially if I have a whole lot of scraps in that color range. Then I will make quite a bit. Now, I do make these for my Etsy shop, but I make them for myself too. And so let me show you how I do it. It's very simple. First of all, you can see that most of these are in strips, so it's important that as you get your strips that you tear or cut them into manageable pieces that you can use. And I found that strips is the easiest way to work on this. Now, my other thing that I do is I prepare my backing fabric. This is actually torn from a sheet that I got at a thrift store. It was a king size sheet. I don't have a king size bed, but that's a lot of fabric for a little bit. I think it was $2. And so I used that as my backing. Good fabric, strong fabric, and lots of it for $2. Now I cut the width that I want here, and basically I start with about 1.75 inches, and by the time I get a little overhang on both sides, it's going to run 1.75 inches to 2 inches or 2.25 inches, somewhere in there, and it will differ somewhat down the strips as I work, but that's okay. That's part of the charm. This is raggy trim, scrappy trim. This is not perfect trim. So this is what I use. Now I have some scraps here that I am working with in that purple and green that I was showing you. And if I were working out of this at the sewing machine, I would find something to start with, and I would put that down, just hang it over the edge just a little, and then I would sew this down. I would come down a little bit because I want some diversity down this row. I would cut that, find my next piece, and I try to tuck the pieces underneath. That way they hold better and I don't have raw edges that are trying to jump out all over the place all the time. Continue to sew down that edge and do that all the way down. Then I come back to the top and I will get a different color of some kind. And again, I will start with just a little bit of overhang on the side, and I will start sewing down this side. And then I will get my second piece and I will tuck it under, and I will continue to sew, okay, down the piece of my backing. When I've got those two down, then I come back to the top and I find something that I like, and then I do a third one down the center. Don't like that. That's not enough contrast. Let's see. That looks pretty good. Okay. And as you're sewing, these rows, you can always throw in something to add a little diversity. For instance, if I wanted to, when I get, say, sew a little bit, then come down and then add this and start this running down. You can do this on any of these sections that you're running down. And then when you put your next piece under, then continue to run it for a little while, then cut it and do something different. I'll show you again my strips so that you can see how that works in real time. As you can see, I've added a little piece as I went along here, another one, and another one. Then I came to the top and I did this side. I had a little piece, another piece on top of that one, and came down. In the center, I did the same thing. I put it down, added a little piece. Then I added a small piece that went down over the top, and then another one. These give a lot of diversity and can change up colors when you've got too much of one color running. That's a good way to do that and break that diversity up. A little more trim here, and that one finishes off that one. Then you can see where I've done the same type of things along this one, broke up the different fabrics and colors with little splashes of other things on there. Now, you can do more or less depending on what you want your strip to look like. Since I make a lot of these for resale in my Etsy shop, I try not to go overboard, because let's say someone wants to buy this to make a snippet roll out of. Well, they want to be able to put some of their own maybe laces on there, or trinkets or charms or whatever, buttons, and they need to be able, it not to be so full that they can't add their own things to it. And also for junk journaling, to be able to be cut and used for belly bands, pockets, tucks, other things, embellishments on the covers and on the edges of the paper, tabs, just whatever a person wanted to use it for. And so a lot of times crafters want to add their own elements. So I try to really make it diversified, but not overly much, so they can do that on their own. So those are just a little bit of how I make these. I'll show you the back. You can see that I use a wide wave stitch, and you can see that I've come down that 3 times. And that's not to say that I might not do more here. I've come in and added a few more stitches down here because I added a little bit more trim on the back. So, but it's very well secured, and that's what it will look like when you get through. Okay? All right. Until next time, take care and keep creating. Bye-bye.